Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for your support. Many of you are liking and subscribing, and that's wonderful. Helps grow this Sangha, make this Sangha, come up in the searches more, so more people can find us, join the Sangha, participate in their maximal life, to practice Shakyamuni's teachings of the Lotus Sutra, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, and Nichiren's doctrine, our modern day, as it were, mentor. Yes? Now, we've been doing a lot of reading of the Lankavatara, but certainly, as I've already said many times, but it bears repeating, that we are studying the Lankavatara, an early Mahayana sutra, but we're studying it from the vantage point of having the ultimate teaching, the self-actualizing Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Shakyamuni's teaching of the Lotus, the wonderful white lotus teaching, this sutra that many scholars for hundreds, thousands of years keep coming back to, keep finding the ultimate teaching, the final teachings, really, other than the Nirvana, which was from his deathbed. The Lotus Sutra is the most comprehensive, how to attain enlightenment exactly as he did, and that we can all do that. You and I, bodhisattvas of the future from beneath the earth. That is us. And so this is his teaching for us, and it is an immediate attainment of enlightenment. Our practice daily is to maintain this lucidity, this enlightenment, this maximization of our potential. Yes? Having said that, I occasionally get emails from some of you about, and I've done videos on this, how do I apply my teaching in my daily life? How does my, yes, I get it, Sifu. I sit in front of my Butsudan. I have a properly enshrined mandala. The mandala isn't a genuine Nichiren inscribed mandala, a digital copy, of course, of a genuine Nichiren mandala. It's not Bruce's mandala. It's not so-and-so group mandala. It's not any. It's Nichiren's mandala. Nichiren's insight into. And really what we're looking at, if you have a proper Nichiren mandala, is the Lotus Sutra in pictorial form. Something for our 8 consciousnesses, our vision conscious, ear conscious, feeling conscious, the whole thing, to focus on, to undistract. Because, our consciousnesses are constantly dissecting and qualifying and identifying, right? So the mandala helps us to go, and what do we focus on? Our gohonzon, our mind's portal to Buddha-ness, to complete full experience of life, the universe life, not just my little local thingified, attached life, but life writ large, yes? Now, that's important to know that. And here's why. Because this thing about, how does Buddhism work to affect my manic depression? Or maybe I'm just in a low mood all the time and I can't shake this malaise. Hey, we live in a time, my friends, in a world, not to sound like a movie advertisement, right? In a world, but of tremendous, constant, I can't overstate it, distractions. And I'm going to say 99% of those distractions are all negative. The war here, this guy's calling that guy a this or that, she's saying this or that, she's trying to stir up people trying to get you to buy. Oh, your welfare superior, blah, 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 blah. This drug, that drug, that drug. Pay attention to me. Doesn't it sound like a grove of monkeys? Exactly what Shakyamuni was talking about? I mean, I can barely watch YouTube or television or even radio broadcasts, because it's a constant barrage. You're really nothing unless you have the latest this. Constant. I mean, it's a wonder that we can have our own thoughts. We think we do, but most of our thoughts are based on what do I not have? What do I need to get? How am I losing this? Am I gaining that? We don't even care so much about loss anymore. We're all in replacement. And it's all identity bullshit. That's not who we are. But we build our, I am what, right? A man is judged by what he does, which now is, where do you work? What do you do? Because living ain't enough. Living and being here and experiencing and being a human and trying to help others. Do you work in computers? Do you work in construction? Everything's about this craving for identification constantly. And sometimes when there's a quiet moment, or when we can't go to sleep at night, why am I so depressed? Well, you're killing yourself every day, because the real self, your real experience of life, it's been put away in a box and put in another box and put in another box because I have to be this or that. Or yeah, we live in this time of great, and I mean great, distraction. And distraction from what? From reality. Those things aren't reality. Those are a game of commerce. It's really, it's scary, it's sad, and I don't mean to depress you, but how can you not? Every now and again, and I do it too. Holy crap, this world I'm living in. How can I find hope? A word I'm not particularly fond of. But seriously, how can I see through all of this mire? How can I reach you guys and hope to find a reason for living, a reason to be happy? What is that even? Because the new iPhone ain't doing it. It did for about 45 minutes, and now the payment is due. And now this doesn't work, that doesn't, nothing is perfect, right? We obsess constantly. Yeah, of course we get depressed. Of course we feel down. So how do we use the practice? Well, think about it for a moment. It's the same question as those who ask, how do I apply my practice to affect another person? Put in a really crappy mimetic way, how do I chant for others? How do I chant to fix somebody I really care about? The answer is always the same. Dear, dear friends, I love you guys. But this era has stripped you of so much of your self-image, your value, that you fail to see that this is your practice. This is exactly why you practice. By chanting, having a proper mandala enshrined, dedicating some time, lighting some incense, focusing. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. You notice how well lit my Butsudan is? Not the Butsudan so much as the mandala. Make sure that your eye gets tunnel vision, that you're looking right at that Myoho character. Get your mind, your monkeys, to shut the hell up and focus and chant. I want my Buddha-ness now. I want to feel it. I want to see what it's like. I want to be in Buddha. That should be the only focus, the only thought coursing through your mind. Focusing every energy into Namo Myo Renge Kyo, my enlightenment writ large. But just right here, just zoom in on it. Understand what that is doing to your mind, to your life. Yeah, when you walk away after you've done an hour of Shodai Daimoku or Gongyo, you walk right back into the rest of the house or wherever you are, and there it is, the same old world. But what did we learn from the Virmalakirti Sutra? Do you remember? The Buddha land, that enlightened, amazing place? Well, it's this place. The only difference is the way you experience it. What does that mean in daily terms? It means instead of your mood being crap, instead of you wanting to sit on your butt and not motivated to do anything, instead of being depressed about the world sucks and I'm never going to find happiness or affect anyone else, those are old VHS tapes playing in your brain. Those are the monkeys. Those are the monkeys. Those are the self-deprecating thoughts that keep you in misery. Those are the thoughts that Shakyamuni 3,000 years ago identified for you as your samsaric pain, stress, anxiety. This is the reason Buddhism exists, my friends. What you're not connecting, what you're worried about, is that while you're in training your mind to enlighten, to awaken, to experience Buddha-ness, your negative mind, your samsaric mind, is saying to you, your monkeys are saying to you, as soon as I walk away, I'm back in the crap. But that's not true. Or even if okay, it is true, but your experience of the crap is different. Because as you enlighten your mind, as you spend more time chanting Namo Myo Renge Kyo, you must know, you must have the confidence, you must have an inner, what shall I call it, conviction, resolve, that very aspect of your mind is influencing everything in your life, including the people you care about, including others you don't even know, strangers, but also every one of your monkeys. All of that same old crap whether you get that aha moment immediately or not, you will if you're consistent with your practice. Now, you must make the effort. You've been living X amount of years, and all of your effort 24/7 has been on the monkeys. So you got to know it's going to take some effort to shut them up, at least a little at a time. And this is the actual proof of our practice. When we're consistent, when we chant every day, when we learn Gangyo, when we apply ourselves to you can't raise vegetable gardens or plants or a pet without constant care. Give yourself that gift. Give yourself, your mind, the opportunity to develop Buddhahood. And that same old crap, a day later, a week later, a month later, you'll see it, but you'll recognize, oh, yeah, that's that same old crap, but it doesn't affect me the way it used to. In fact, it's so stupid. I don't need to think of it. Your mind is changing. Your mind is being retrained in Buddha-ness. You'll see it for yourself. That is proof. But what's more subtle, what you may not notice, is that when you walk into a building, people that you've never conversed with, whatever, they'll be looking at, they will feel your presence. They may not know why, they may not know how. And how they perceive you will be your Buddha nature, not the you that you think of yourself in the crap. Yeah, be ready for that. Aha. Be ready for the day when you have people come up to you with like an unusual smile saying, hey, what do you do? Or what's about this? Or just want your time. And you'll feel like, what are you doing? I'm not famous, because you're still glued to the attachments of identities. But you'll get used to that too. That'll become a new norm. And what you'll understand more profoundly then is that your life state, because you radiate the energy that you create, the energy you create by your Buddha-ness. The more you train your mind toward Buddha, the more the land becomes the Buddha land, and the Buddha land is not just in your mind. It is, or as we say in the Lankavatara, is your mind, which means others are your mind. Trees and earth and stars and the universe and everything is your mind, because they work exactly the same. The influence of that energy, that portal of Gohanzon, has no limits. The only thing that changes here is your experience of everything. So you find yourself in a period of depression you can't seem to shake. You need to get in front of your Butsudan and chant. If you don't feel like getting off your ass and doing anything, then why are you sitting there in your muck doing nothing? Go sit in your muck in front of a Butsudan and stare down that Gohanza or that mandala and challenge it. Hey, mandala! Time for Buddha! Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. I guarantee you, you chant with that kind of conviction, not just spitting anger, that's not what I mean. I mean expectation. Do it now. Who do you think you're talking to? Sometimes our mind needs a good talking to. And the best language you can use to talk to your mind is Daimoku. and Gongyo. Gongyo is a really good way to talk to your mind because Gongyo requires concentration, memory, right? Rhythm, precision, all of these factors that engage the mind and the brain to pay attention. Do you want to change your mood? You want to change your life? Shakyamuni gave you a template for doing exactly that. But it does require your commitment, your effort, your sincere, focused effort. Have you ever achieved anything without it? I wonder. All right. Lankavatara. Here we come. Where are we minute-wise? Okay. So, what are we? 40, 50, 60, 66. Here we go on Route 66, folks, of the third chapter. At that time, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, the personage representing all of these educated students, right? He says to Shakyamuni, he says, tell me, Sugata, enlightened one. Mention is made in the canonical books of the enlightened one, the Tathagata. See, this isn't Shakyamuni now. This is what Shakyamuni achieved, right? Carpentry. This enlightened one is being subject neither to birth nor to destruction. You're not going to make Buddhahood in your head. You're going to experience Buddhahood in your head, but you're not creating it. You're accessing it. It's always there, always has been. It's without time. It's a skill that you're developing in your mind. But the skill isn't Buddhahood. Buddhahood is the achievement of the skill. Namo Myoho Gekyo. And it is declared by you, Shakyamuni, that this being subject neither to birth nor to destruction is an epithet of the Tathagata. So following my carpentry example from the last video, right? You can take someone on a tour of your town and look at this great wooden bridge. And look at this wonderful wooden structure. And look at this home. Look at all these homes. And look at all of the woodworking and all of the various names we have for woodworking. And witness the results of carpentry. Right? So this is what Mahamati is pointing out. He's saying, you've written all these books, these canonical books about, well, he never did, obviously. All his sermons were oral, right? He never wrote anything down. But be that as it may, Mahamati is talking about a corpus of teachings, right? And he's saying in these teachings, you're saying that Tathagatahood, it isn't born and it isn't destroyed. It's an achievement by us, but it itself isn't that achievement. That has been there all along. So all of these things we point to as Buddha-ness are just evidence, epithets of Tathagatahood, yeah? Or Tathagata. Now, dear sir, enlightened one, by this being subject neither to birth nor destruction, is a non-entity meant? He's really stuck on the words, isn't he? So you're saying something isn't created and therefore it isn't destroyed. It's a state, right? Well, does that make that state, that Buddhahood, an entity? Why are you trying to label it? Why are you so determined, Mahamati, to say, well, if it's not a this or that, then is it a those? It's doing the same thing. Obviously, still doesn't get it, right? And he continues asking, and is it another name for Tathagata, as is declared by the Enlightened One? It is taught by the Enlightened One that all things are subject neither to birth or destruction because they are not to be seen in the dualistic aspect of being and non-being. If all things are unborn, Enlightened One, no one can take hold of anything because nothing has ever been born. And if that is another name for something, what can this something be? Oh, man, he's stubborn. So if you're saying that all of the world and all of the universe is energy in formations, then aren't you just labeling everything something else? Because there is thing. He's still seizing upon identity with stuff, right? He's not getting that everything is a flow, a moment-to-moment occurrence of energies in vast, right? Potential has no limits. Instantiations of potentials have no limits. We experience those expressions of life. That's what we do. A chair, a friend, a house, carpentry, they're all expressions of life. Can we think that way? Can we experience our own life in that manner? There's the challenge. So, Shakyamuni says, all right then, Mahamati, listen well, again, and reflect well within your own self, within your mind. And I will tell you, yet again, certainly, yes, I'll listen. So, he says to Mahamati, the Tathagata is not a non-entity, nor is he to be conceived as all things are. The way that you conceive of thingifying, the way that your mind of samsara is identifying things. Tathagata is not a thing to identify. It is an experience of suchness, of thingness, of the expressions of life. Right? He's not to be conceived of, or Tathagata-ness is not to be conceived of like every other thing as being and non-being, nor disappearing, nor is he to look around for causation in order to appear before others, right? You don't put your Buddha-ness in front of others. Your Buddha-ness inspires Buddha-ness in them because, right? Nor is he without signification. I refer to him as unborn. In other words, it's a real state. But if you're trying to thingify that state, label that state as though you can trade in that state, then you're missing it. You're missing the point. You're missing the grand life experience that you should be having, rather than this identified other fake self that you're maintaining constantly. That's why you're suffering. Nevertheless, Mahamati, there is another name for the Tathagata when his Dharmakaya assumes a will body. This is what goes beyond the comprehension of the philosophers, Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, and those bodhisattvas still abiding in the seventh stage. the unborn Mahamadi is synonymous with the Tathagata. All right. Once again, the unborn synonymous with the Tathagata is an indication that when we reach Buddhahood, when we experience Buddhahood, again, words are slippery here, we aren't inventing a new Buddhahood. It's not my Buddhahood or your Buddhahood or her Buddhahood. It is Buddhahood. It is without identification. It is an clear experience of all the expressions of life. Equally happening moment to moment, equanimity. For instance, Mahamadi, he goes on, Indra is sometimes known as Sakra, sometimes as Purandara. Hand is Hasta or Kara or Pani. The body is Tanu, Deha, Sarira. The earth is Prithvi, Bhumi, Vasundhara. The sky is Ka, Asaka, Gagana. All these objects, each in its way, are designated with many names, synonymously used and discriminated. But on account of these different names, different objects are not to be imagined. They're all pointing to the same thing. They're just utilitarian words, labels we give to indicate a suchness. Nor are they without their self-nature. Words made of letters, made of sounds, right? They have their own particular characteristics, discriminations, suchnesses. The same Mahamadi can be said of myself. For I come within the range of hearing of ignorant people in this world of patience, under many names, amounting to 100,000 times 3 asankayas, and they address me by these names, not knowing that they are all other names of the Tathagata. Their experiences of the influence of my instantiation of Buddha-ness is affecting them, and they are responding with their particular impressions, trying to identify what I have achieved. And most of them rely on this human form to point to it, because they don't yet understand Tathagata-ness. I keep coming back to this very straightforward explanation Shakyamuni gave us in our practice, that it is up to each and every one of us to instantiate, to train our minds to this Buddha-ness, that no one can do it for us, nobody can hand it. It's not a thing to be traded. Of these Mahamadis, some recognize me as the Tathagata, recognize me, a human, as the Tathagata. But that's not right. Where does he make that explicitly clear? In the second part of the Lotus Sutra, right? In the lifespan of the Tathagata chapter. You guys think that I achieved this here, now, in this body. But that's not true. You're not getting it. Even in the Lotus Sutra, his culminating teaching, he's still hammering away at this so people get it. Some as the self-existent one, or the thus come one, right? Some as a leader, as Vinayaka, the remover, or as Parinanyaka, the guide, or as Buddha, as Rishi, the ascetic, as Bull King, as Brahma, as Vishnu, as Ishvara, as original source, as Kapila, as Bhutanta, the end of reality, or as Arishta, as Nemina, as Soma, like the moon, as the sun, as Rama, as Vashya, as Shuka, as Indra, as Balin, as Varuna, as is known to some, while others recognize me as one who is never born and never passes away, as emptiness itself, as suchness, as truth, as reality, as limit of reality, as the Dharmagatu, as nirvana, as the eternal, as sameness, as non-duality, as the undying, as the formless, as causation, as the doctrine of Buddha's cause, as emancipation itself, as the truth of the path, as the all-knower, as the victor, as the will-made mind. Mahamani, thus in full possession of 100,000 times 3 asamkhya of appellations, of names, neither more nor less, in this world and in other worlds. I am known to the peoples like the moon in water, which is neither in it nor out of it. But this is not understood by the ignorant who have fallen into the dualistic conception of continuity. Though they honor, praise, esteem, and revere me, they do not understand well the meaning of words and definitions. They do not distinguish ideas. They do not have their own truth, and clinging to the words of the canonical books, as you are, they imagine that not being subject to birth and destruction means a non-entity. In other words, that's fantasy. It's not real, right? They're stuck in their mystical, magical mind, trying to conceive of something through characteristics and parameters as though they can experience something that doesn't exist. This is the magical samsaric mind. No. Buddhism is real. Buddha-ness, your mental cognition of the nature of life in each moment, there's nothing more real than that. It's not a fantasy, it's not mystical, but you have to work at it. It's happening, but you're not paying attention because the monkeys have all your attentions. All of your distractions and your attachments have all your attention. You need to cease those distractions. That doesn't mean you have to kill everything off. The distraction isn't the thing. The distraction is your attachment to the thing. Please understand this. You can have all your cake and eat it, but your joy doesn't come from the cake. It doesn't come from your eating it. Your joy is something else altogether. And it is real. Yeah? And fail to see that it is one of many names of the Tathagata, as it is in the case of Indra, Sakra, Purandara, etc. They have no confidence, and this is why we're a Sangha, and that's what we work on every day, yes? Confidence. You can't have conviction and resolve for something unless you're confident that it really works, that it's really happening. Ironically, how do you get confidence? By experiencing it. That's the proof. That's what I was talking about earlier, yeah? You have to prove it to yourself. But you can't say, it doesn't work, and prove yourself faulty, or that it doesn't work if you don't try. You've got to make the effort. And you know what? Sometimes the effort is so easy, it's like slipping a hot knife through butter, yeah? But there's also times when, you got to drag yourself, and I've done it. So I know from what I speak. I've dragged myself out of bed into the other room. It's ridiculous to say, but I've had to do that. That's how much my monkeys have controlled my life. Literally drag myself to my Butsudan. and chanted for a long time before I finally opened the Butsudan and turned on the lights. And then sat up and felt a little better. Okay, I'm doing this now. And lit some incense and then got into it with my mandala. I mean, sometimes it's just hard. We have collected lots of monkeys, obstacles to our Buddha-ness. And sometimes it's just part of our karmic train. And some things will come up out of our karma, sometimes expected, sometimes quite unexpected, but it's all the same crap. It's all stuff that wants us to sink into the dirt. Mentally, yeah. That kind of stuff happens really easily when you're dealing with pain, whether it's emotional or physical, right? That's when we're really in danger of going, oh, life sucks. Well, you should know that's exactly the moment when you should be doubly determined. And you'll get through it much more quickly, much more healthily, much more, dare I say, happily. Thus, Mahamadi, these deluded ones would declare that as words are, so is meaning, that meaning is not otherwise than words. If you don't have words for it, then, how useful is it, please? Right? For what reason? Because meaning has no body of its own and cannot be different from words. That the unintelligent declare words to be identical with meaning is due to their ignorance as to the self-nature of words. They do not know, Mahamadi, that words are subject to birth and death, whereas meaning is not. Do you think he's being pretty direct with Mahamadi at this point? He's calling him an ignorant fool because he's so frickin' attached to words and identification, he's not hearing the words of Shakyamuni Buddha. Mahamadi, words are dependent on letters, but meaning is not. As meaning is freed from existence and non-existence, it is not born and it has no substratum. Why are you looking to identify meaning? It has no meaning. To identify it is to strap it with a bunch of identifications. That's not meaning. That's a denial, an obstacle of meaning. And Mahamadi, the Tathagatas do not teach the doctrine that is dependent upon letters. As to letters, their being or not being is not attainable. Even if you really look at the nature of letters and words, they're empty. They only have what you assign to them. Who's doing the assigning? It is otherwise with the thought that is never dependent on letters. Again, Mahamadi, anyone that discourses on a truth that is dependent on letters is a mere prattler, because truth is beyond letters. For this reason, Mahamadi, it is declared in the canonical text by myself and other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that not a letter is uttered or answered by the Tathagatas. For what reason? Because truths are not dependent on letters. The truth of your life, of your experience of life, isn't found in a book. You can talk about it all day long, but talking about it isn't it. It is not that they never declare what is in conformity with meaning. When they declare anything, it is according to the discrimination of all beings, trying to lead others within their limitations. Look, come with me, change your mind. You can't go to a vending machine and buy Tathagatahood. It's not a thing, it's an experience. If Mahamadi, the truth is not declared in words, the scriptures, the texts, the teachings containing all truths, they'll just disappear. They just become meaningless. And when the teachings disappear, there will be no Buddhas, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas. All words, by the way. And when there is no one to teach, can you identify teach as a thing? How would you do so? You could talk volumes about teaching, yeah? But would that be teaching? Where does the teaching happen? You've heard me talk about this 1,000 times. I can sit here and talk in hundreds of videos, or we're approaching 1,000 quickly. But I'm not teaching you anything. I'm offering you insights. I'm guiding you through thoughts and meaning so that you, for yourself, can go, oh, suddenly I get that. Not because I said it magically, but because you, in your mind, put some thoughts together and achieved a light of your own, a lens of your own. You're doing the teaching and the learning. Those are the only teachers in life, is our mind. We can be very grateful to those who have guided us, like Shakyamuni, like Nichiren, like Tendai, so on and so forth. But they're not our teachers. They're our facilitators. Do you see what I'm saying? There is no one to teach. What is to be taught, and to whom? It's exactly what I continuously talk about. For this reason, then, Mahamadi, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva is not to become attached to the words of the canonical texts. Kind of a conundrum, because the way he taught was orally, and the way you learned was by repetition and memorization. So, that's kind of the very essence of trap. Even as we recite Gongyo and Daimoku, you must understand that you're not doing it to memorize Gongyo. You may memorize Gongyo, but please understand, as you chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, and as you chant Gongyo, right? And so on and so forth. What you're doing isn't mere repetition, but instantiation, a reminder to every aspect of your mind of the achievement you are making with insight. When you take a trip in a car, in a camper, in whatever, and you have a destination, and it's a faraway destination. Oh, it doesn't have to be far away. Just a destination. Does your getting in the car achieve the destination? The car needs fuel. You have to put fuel in the car, whether it's electric, gas, hydrogen, whatever, so that the car will operate to do what? To facilitate your ability to get to the destination. The car is like Gongyo. The fuel, Daimoku. Physical enough? That description isn't it. But it gets you to your destination. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Fuel up. Enliven that engine, that Gohonzon, and then drive that Gohonzon into Buddha-ness. Yeah? Where did I leave off now? I'm going to go a little long because I want to finish this paragraph. This is really... Yeah, there's a lot more to this, but we'll take a break in a minute. I just want to finish this paragraph, okay? For this reason, Mahamati, it is declared the canonical test by myself. La, la, la. I read that already. When they declare anything, it is according to the discrimination. It's not in the words. Saraka is to teach to whom. For this reason, then, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, is not to become attached to the words of the canonical texts. Mahamati, owing to the functioning of the minds of sentient beings, the canonical texts sometimes deviate from their straightforward course. Practicing discourses are given by myself and other Tathagatas, fully enlightened ones, in response to the varieties of convictions on the part of beings, in order to remove them from the bondage of the Sita Manas and Manovijnanas, and not for the attainment and establishment of self-realization, which issues from the noble wisdom. So that's an important distinction. What he's pointing out there is that all of these texts, these canonical texts, these teachings, they're meant to reach the minds of those who don't know. They don't know yet. But they need to be guided. They need to be given the mental constructs and tools to be able to understand. Right? This is what we're doing right now. But the achievement of Tathagatahood, of Buddhahood, that's something only you can do. And you can do it quite easily. But if you don't understand the objective, what you're coming from, how your mind works, how it's true, you need the conviction to know this will achieve this altered state of experience, of being. And so we need to talk about all of these preparatory things, but all of those preparations in words are not the thing. That is something experienced by prajna, right? Superior wisdom. Noble wisdom, he calls it. When there is the recognition of the fact that all things are characterized with imagelessness, and that there is nothing in the world but what is seen of the mind itself, there is the discarding of the dualistic discrimination. And that's where we're going to stop today. He's just repeating himself over and over and over again. But it's interesting the way that he gets there. I mean, we're learning something from... So thank you, Mahamati, for being so stubbornly ignorant, because he's helping us. All of us have a different way of coming to this, aha, oh, right? Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you again. My gratitude is immense for your participation, for your support. All the links on the video, you can see where you can go be a patron, like many of you are. Thank you. Those who buy books, buy mandalas, you're supporting this channel, same thing. Go on PayPal and make use of the resource. You know, a bunch of free stuff available on threefoldlotus.com, study material, stuff for discussion with others. Yeah, that's helpful. Of course, these videos, the podcast, you can listen to anytime, right? So If you have any ideas of what else I could produce to supply support for your practice, tell me in the comments. Otherwise, just keep your practice strong. Just keep doing it. You'll see there will be results. If not immediately, over time, you will see them. I guarantee you. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Take care of your health. Be kind to yourself, right? Don't beat yourself up. Samsara is samsara. The monkeys are loud. It's the times we live in, there's a lot of monkeys. So give yourself a break. Go chant. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.